Friends, I want to take you back to the time when I was in class 9, a phase of life where curiosity, confusion, and lack of guidance pushed me into habits I didn't even realize were slowly controlling me. And just like many of you, I became addicted to masturbation without truly understanding how deep the problem was or how silently it was, damaging me from the inside. At that age, I had some surface-level awareness that overdoing it could harm the body, weaken energy, and drain motivation, but I never understood the long-term mental, emotional, and psychological consequences. And as days turned into months, and months into years, this habit quietly became a part of my daily routine. Almost 2 years passed before I fully realized how harmful it was, how it affected my testosterone levels, my confidence, my drive to work, and my interest in life itself. Because slowly, I started feeling lazy all the time, avoiding responsibilities, postponing important tasks, and spending entire days doing nothing meaningful while convincing myself that everything was normal. The worst part was that even after becoming aware of all this, the addiction had grown so strong that quitting felt impossible, as if my own mind was no longer under my control. About a year later, certain realizations hit me so hard that guilt took over completely, and at that point, quitting was no longer just a wish or a goal, it became a necessity for survival, because I could clearly see that if I continued on the same path, my future would collapse before it even began, and I would never be able to move forward in life with confidence or self-respect. I genuinely believed quitting would be easy, that I would simply stop one day and everything would magically improve. But reality hit me fast, because within a week I relapsed and fell right back into the same pit I was desperately trying to escape. And I know many of you have experienced this exact cycle, where you promise yourself change, stay strong for a few days, and then suddenly give in, wondering how your mind shuts down the moment temptation takes control. I tried countless tricks, tips, and hacks, hoping something would finally work, but nothing did, and slowly my condition started resembling what many of you are dealing with right now, where stress, anxiety, and depression surround you so tightly that even breathing feels heavy, and every day starts feeling like a burden instead of a gift. My routine became painfully repetitive, with the same thoughts running through my mind all day, the same urges controlling my actions, and the same emptiness and regret following every relapse, wasting whatever time and energy I had left and pushing me deeper into self-hate. Then one day, something shifted, not suddenly, but deeply, when I discovered something in life that felt bigger, more meaningful, and more powerful than the temporary pleasure of addiction. And that moment changed everything. I realized that quitting was not impossible, because people far more addicted than me had done it before, and if they could reclaim control over their lives, so could I, and so can you. The truth is, the real solution is something most people don't talk about. Because everyone focuses on surface-level explanations like dopamine release, pleasure hormones, or temporary motivation tricks that only work for a short time before the cycle repeats itself. I tried everything YouTube suggested, from exercising during urges to drinking water, distracting myself with music or entertainment. But when the urge fully takes over the mind, logic disappears, and no distraction feels strong enough. Because the brain keeps sending signals until you give in, and once you do, the regret hits harder than ever, dragging you back into stress, depression, and anxiety that slowly eat you alive from within. So let me make one thing very clear. Before going further, this is not a magical message that will instantly cure you forever, because what worked for me may not work exactly the same way for you. But if you are genuinely tired of feeling stuck, ashamed, and powerless, and you don't want to destroy your life slowly, then listening carefully might change something inside you. There are mainly two types of people trapped in this habit. The first are those who indulge without guilt, knowing it's harmful but choosing comfort over discipline, telling themselves that everyone does it so it must be fine. And the second are those who truly want to quit, who try challenges, streaks, and self-control, but fail whenever urges hit, and then drown in guilt afterward. And if you're reading or watching content like this, you belong to the second group, because someone who doesn't care would never seek solutions in the first place. I'm not here to lecture you on what masturbation is, or list its disadvantages, because deep down you already know all that, and repeating it won't change anything, especially in a world where attention spans are short and people quit before reaching real solutions. The real question is why you do it and how to stop. And to answer that, let me ask you something honestly. Imagine your father is unwell, and there is no one else at home except you, and his medicines, care, and recovery depend completely on you. Would you complain about stress or responsibility? Or would you step up without hesitation? Because love makes responsibility feel natural, not forced. Now ask yourself why you don't show that same love toward your own body and mind. Why you knowingly harm yourself even when you understand the damage. And the answer is simple but painful. It's because you lack self-love. When you don't value yourself, protecting your health feels optional, discipline feels unnecessary, and addiction feels comforting, even though it's destroying you. Masturbation weakens mental strength to the point where even small decisions feel overwhelming. Yet without self-love, stopping feels impossible, because you keep choosing external pleasure over internal well-being. Real change begins when you start caring about yourself the way you care about people you love unconditionally. Because when love is real, you don't allow harm, and you don't negotiate with destruction. Another hard truth is that addiction thrives in emptiness, when your life lacks purpose, responsibility, or meaningful engagement, because urges grow strongest when you are idle, bored, or mentally unsteady. Many people argue that even busy, ambitious individuals struggle with this habit, and that's true, but in most cases, it's not a lack of work, it's a lack of honest effort because procrastination lives inside the mind and steals time meant for growth, redirecting it toward temporary pleasure. Filling your day with meaningful work, structure, and responsibility is not about exhausting yourself, but about giving your mind something more important to focus on, something that reminds you that your time is valuable and limited. Creating a daily routine, following a to-do list, and committing to discipline won't instantly silence urges, because your mind will resist change, bringing the same thoughts again and again, testing your patience and willpower, but every time you resist, you weaken the habit and strengthen your control. If despite all this nothing changes, then the truth is either you are wasting your potential through inactivity, or you have completely disconnected from self-respect and purpose, because without a goal that excites you and scares you at the same time, discipline feels pointless. Setting a powerful life goal is not about ambition alone, it's about direction, because when you know where you're going, you stop wasting time on things that pull you backward. No one else can control your actions or steal your time unless you allow it, and the same applies to habits, because external triggers only work when internal discipline is weak. Now ask yourself what you fear most in life, and most people will say death. Yet very few realize that death doesn't begin when money ends or relationships fail, it begins when time runs out, and every wasted hour brings you closer to that end. It's ironic how people fear dying but casually waste time on habits that slowly kill ambition, health, and purpose, trapping themselves between regret and fear. When you finally look back and ask where all the time went, there will be no excuses, no explanations. Only the realization that it slipped away moment by moment while you were distracted. Right now, you still have time, energy, youth, and often the support of parents who want to see you succeed. So choosing discipline over destruction is not punishment, it's self-respect. Walking the path of truth doesn't mean perfection, it means awareness, honesty, and continuous effort, even when it's uncomfortable. If you've made it this far, it already shows strength in a world that constantly pulls attention away, but understanding alone won't fix everything, because this battle is real, ongoing, and demanding, and the solution may sound simple but requires daily commitment. Keep fighting as long as you can, because every time you choose control, you reclaim a part of yourself that addiction tried to steal. And if this message resonates with you, and you know someone else silently struggling, share it with them, because sometimes a single reminder can spark the change someone desperately needs.